So Google just quietly started rolling out a new update to NotebookLM that at first doesn't really seem like a big deal. It just seems like something that's pretty neat, but it's actually a much bigger deal than most people think. Okay, so you're probably already familiar with NotebookLM and how over here on the right inside of Studio, you can create all these different assets: video overviews, mind maps, flashcards, quizzes, infographics, slide decks, data tables, for instance, and none of that's changing. You can still make those. But what's different is that you can now ask the chat to actually make any of those assets for you. So for instance, I can come over here and ask it, create a slide deck for me about all of this information. And if I go ahead and submit that, you'll see over here on the right, it's now generating that slide deck. So that's pretty neat, but really, what's the big deal? After all, is it really all that different than just coming over here on the right and clicking one of these buttons? Well, in my testing of this, I've actually noticed it is a lot different. It not only changes how you generate assets inside of NotebookLM, but also the quality of them as well. So let me show you an example of what I mean. To get the most out of this new workflow, you want to start by actually chatting with the information inside the chat box here on NotebookLM. So this is a notebook that's all about rock climbing. So I'm going to ask NotebookLM, can you tell me more information about the ropes that are needed to get started with rock climbing? And it's now reading through all the files, of course, to answer my question. And here it's now telling me about all the different ropes that are involved. Now I go ahead and read this through, and let's say I don't really understand one of these concepts, like maybe this one right here called dry treatment. So I'm actually going to ask NotebookLM to clarify. I don't understand dry treatment. Can you tell me more about that? And so now, after a bit of back and forth, NotebookLM is beginning to understand what topic specifically I am interested in and maybe what I'm struggling with. So now, after all that back and forth, now I'm actually going to ask it, can you create an infographic for me that covers that information so I can understand it better? And let's go ahead and submit that. And we can see over here on the right is now creating it. And then here is the result. We can even see right here that it's actually called Guide to Climbing Ropes specifically. Let's go ahead and open it up. And here we have Climbing Ropes 101, a beginner's guide to your lifeline. Has all the information in here, and it even specifically has a whole section for dry treatment right here. Why? Because that's what we were talking about. So this is much more tailored to what I want to know about rock climbing, as opposed to this first one right here. If you remember, all I did was click the button that says infographic. So let's go ahead and look at that one. And you can see that this one is much more generic. And the information about ropes is a lot smaller. It's just down here in the bottom left. It barely covers any of the information that the other one covers. Let me show you another example of why I think this is going to be a complete game changer. So I've been chatting with my notebook a little bit longer and asking it about different rock climbing terminology. And in the back and forth, I really made it clear that there are some terms that I'm just not understanding, and it's helping me understand those terms. So now I'm going to tell it, great, can you now put together a set of flashcards that go over some of the terms that I've been struggling with? And let's go ahead and submit that. And we can see that's now generating on the right. And now it's finished generating. So let's take a look. So here is some of the terminology. Let's just go ahead and go through this. And what I'm noticing now is that the first few is like this one right here. This is one of the terms that I specifically said I was struggling with. And I actually asked it a couple of questions about it. So it's making sure that that is included inside this deck and it is shown early, as well as questions like this as well. So it's much more tailored to the conversation I was having with NotebookLM, as opposed to just being a generic set of flashcards that use all of this information from all these different sources. Now, I know what some of you in the comments section are going to say. Weren't we able to do this already by coming over here inside Studio, clicking on the pencil icon, and describing exactly what we want inside this box? And yes, you could do that, and you still can do that. However, when you use this method, you have to come up with the information that you want included inside the asset. By chatting with the notebook first, you can begin to understand where your weak points are. what the information is that you don't understand and that you're struggling with and that you need help with. And then from that, NotebookLM can then make assets that are perfectly tailored to you and the information that you want to learn and that you need to learn. I think it is much more powerful than coming over here on the right and creating assets inside a studio. But let's see how far we can push this new workflow. So I've continued my conversation with my notebook and asked it to tell me more about the different grading for rock climbing routes. In other words, the grading from easy to difficult. So here it gave me an answer. I'm going to tell it, great, now take all this information and create a 16:9 infographic for me that is in a Japanese manga style. Let's go ahead and submit that and see how well it was able to follow those directions. So these are the results, and I gotta say, I am really impressed with this. It followed my instructions to a T. It is 16:9. It covers the grading scale right here, and it looks like a Japanese manga. This, I gotta say, is pretty awesome. So overall, I am very impressed with this new feature. I think going forward, the way I'm going to start using this is over here on the right, inside of Studio. I'm going to use these for quickly making different assets on the fly. But if I'm using the chat anyway and working through some research with the NotebookLM chat, I'm definitely going to take advantage of this new workflow to be able to tailor the assets to exactly what I'm already interested in and working on. It kind of gives you the best of both worlds and allows you to take advantage of both of the different ways you can create assets. But let me know your thoughts on this new workflow in the comments section down below. Now, throughout this video, you may have noticed that my NotebookLM might look a little bit different than yours. For instance, I have all these buttons up here on the top left. And that's because I've been using this Chrome extension that actually amplifies the abilities of NotebookLM. If you want to learn more about that, I made an entire video about it. You can check it out right here. I cover not only what the Chrome extension is, but how you can get access to it. So click right here and I'll see you over in that video in just 1 second. Bye for now.